Claudiu Popa. He is a certified security and privacy expert, author of the Canadian Cyber Fraud Handbook. Thanks for your time tonight. Look, this kind of online campaign, is it fairly easy to carry out on social media sites?
Oh, absolutely. And it has been for decades. So this is nothing new. Just to be clear, for example, Russia has been at it since 2004. And these are the kinds of things that you get better and better at. For the social media sites, it's a balancing act between allowing people and encouraging people to contribute versus censorship and versus the vast volume of submissions. So it's something that is easy to do and very difficult to police.
So I guess it's the vast volume that makes it difficult for them to identify this and pull it down?
Exactly. That's it. It really is all about the volume and the content as well. So the traditional term spamouflage comes from eluding email filters, right? So the idea is you can get past email filters by saying something or crafting the content of a message in a particular way that it won't trigger the whatever antivirus or anti-spam filters you might have in place. On the social media sites, that's very difficult to do because a lot of people can say different things, or they can look at the same topic from different perspectives, not to mention in different languages.
Got it.
So
okay.
The approach is fairly simple. You want to distract, and once you distract, you're able to suppress en masse whatever quality message is taking place on social media. And from that point on, you can defame, or you can disinform, or you can spread conspiracy theories, whatever you want to do. It all has to do with that initial vast volume of messages that tend to flood these social media platforms.
More bang for the buck, I'm going to say, because literally
Absolutely.
That's what they're getting. So what is the scale of this particular campaign compared to others you've seen?
Well, we've seen thousands of comments on individual posts. So once you have thousands of comments, there's really no point for people to follow a thread because you can never follow it all the way. And it reduces the value of everyone's contribution, since you can pretty much assume that something that you have to say has already been said. So you simply move on. And so by flooding these social media networks and by adding erroneous content or just plain nonsense, it also messes with the searchability of social media content. So Google and other search engine sites are always watching and trying to figure out what the discourse is like. But when that discourse is made up of nonsense, it really undermines the quality of the information that's out there. And of course, a coherent message can emerge from that, but that coherent message will be communicated by the same people who have suppressed the original messaging.
Are people specifically targeted, or is this a kind of campaign where they just do a general blitz and see who falls in?
These are very targeted campaigns because they actually cost money. They take a lot of resources. A lot of those resources may be using AI and technology and, of course, an army of bots. But ultimately, it's a number of bot herders that are behind the scenes, that are human beings, who are managing all of these tens of thousands of virtual users of social media. And so you've only got so many. And if you're going to be effective in suppressing somebody or damaging their reputation and disinforming an entire population, you want to be focused. In Canada, we have the term, and this is a government term, it's MDM. It stands for misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation. So this all has to do with the intent. And of course, we're still talking about the intent being to cause harm to somebody's reputation, but also to the public, because they really don't know how to gauge the quality and the veracity of that information. And so if you get all your information from social media, then this is not going to help you at all. And that's really the kind of mayhem that's the focus of these types of targeted campaigns here.
I would say Canadians are getting a little more savvy at determining what is real and what is fake, but we know technology is always a couple of steps ahead of us. How effective can this kind of thing be to affect opinion? And we've seen some of this in the past, but now how effective is it to stain a reputation, for example?
Well, so the work that I did with NATO Canada and with the Knowledge Flow Foundation indicates that the more flooding that takes place, the more distraction, the more suppression of quality discourse there is, the higher the effectiveness of the disinformation. In other words, what everybody wants is to create silence in the room or confusion, and then replace all the messaging with malicious, harmful, different content. And once you've got that, you've essentially won, as long as you can cover your tracks. That is the hard part in all of this. It's the ensuring that, one, you strive for anonymity if you're a malicious party, an entity, or perhaps a government. And if you're really successful, you want to pin it on somebody else. You want to make it look like it's a different country altogether, or perhaps a political opponent.
Yeah.
And those kinds of things are still possible to do on social media today. Rest assured, Facebook and all the other platforms are struggling to mediate and moderate all of this volume of information. And they've said that they are harnessing the power of AI to do a lot of this stuff. But the trouble is that there's always a relatively high rate of false positives, which means a lot of innocent people are getting suppressed. A lot of people are finding that their accounts are being canceled with no recourse.
Yeah.
Their social media presence suddenly vanishes, and they were just regular users because some AI thought that they might have been trying to sway public opinion or erode public trust. So it's a tricky time for trust in general for the internet. And of course, that started with fake news, and here we are today.
Yeah, it is a very tricky time, I would say. A lot of people just, I don't know, it feels dangerous almost at certain points being online, because you just don't know what's out there. Claudiu, I've got to leave the conversation there, but I appreciate your input on this. Thanks very much for stopping in.
Anytime. My pleasure.